And it's another time for us to bring you your weekly dose of extra, served up with a side of wit and charm. So buckle up, because we've got the juiciest stories from the past week hot off the press. And trust me, you deserve it after such a week you've had. I mean, can Lagosians catch a break, breathe, change? Speaking of change, the wind is blowing up and sand filling up popular land or popular local tourist and leisure spot, land that is marked to make way for a super shiny highway, and thousands may be out of jobs pretty soon and living in Africa's fifth most expensive city without income or a job. I ask again, can the poor breathe? Speaking of questions, Mazino, is it Nigeria if the politics isn't politicking?
It depends.
Is it?
Perhaps maybe polytricking.
Polytricking, yes indeed. Well, the ruling party, as we know it, which is the APC, took center stage this week with a plot of suspension of the party's national chairman. Oh, he wasn't suspended, before you ask. But this story and how it played out, Nollywood would be jealous, because what a plot twist. In the meantime, all eyes, or some eyes, are on Ondo State as the APC holds its primaries, as 17 hopefuls are vying to be the party flag bearer for the September 21st gubernatorial elections for Ondo State. And may the best man win. I know who's doing their best, by the way. Mazino, can you guess who that person could be?
Would that be me?
No. Stick with me, Mazino. Stick with me. It's the Naira. The Nigerian Naira is doing its best, is fighting to get against the dollar, and it seems to be winning. But are the prices of food and commodities dropping? Well, the recent inflation rate shows nay. In fact, Nigeria's headline inflation is at an all-time high at 33.2% for the month of March 2024, according to the latest statistics by the National Bureau of Statistics. And that's a new record, by the way. And don't get me started on food inflation for the month of March 2024. It's record-breaking, people. Mazino, keep up!
I'm not sure I can anymore.
Now, as Nigeria's economy set records, its citizens aren't left out as well. Nigeria's chess master, or should I say Africa's chess maestro, and that's Judith Onakoya, has been vying to break the world record at 58 hours. And let me tell you, he has done it. What a champion. Meanwhile, I can only play snake and ladder. But there's hope for me, okay? There's hope for me. I can learn. Like they always say, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Wait, I got a question for you, Judith. Which power grid are you using to shine this light in your tunnel?
I don't know, Mazino. All right? So it costs an arm and a leg for Nigerians to keep the light on at the end of the tunnel, no matter what band you're on. It's like starting to feel like, let me see, a contraband?
Booyah.
But one thing is certain, we have a great show for you. And by we, I mean yours truly, Judith Atibi. My wingman, the best man for the job. He asked me to say that, by the way. Mazino Appeal. And so I want you to get seated at the table. What would you like? Some tea? Maybe fancy some coffee? As we serve you breakfast extra. And first on the menu is the Saturday Dailies.
Well, what can we say? We're off to a good start. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We get started with the Saturday Dailies. Good morning to you, Atibi.
Good morning to you, Mazino.
That's a grand monologue, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Now, let's take a look at the dailies for this morning. Let you know what you'd meet on the front pages when you pick up any of these. Let's start from the copy of the Daily Trust for a Saturday. And starting the Daily Trust, what meets your eyes? Years after schools hit by abductions remain closed. Some students relocate, others out of school. We don't want our daughters far away from home, say the parents. And about the Ondo governorships, meet those contesting for APC tickets today. You can find that in the Daily Trust this morning. At the top, Adam A. Zongo's social media outburst sets Kannywood on fire, and varsity students, 14 others killed in Plateau attacks. At the very bottom of the Daily Trust drama, as Rubutunsha tea bags emerge in Europe markets and Israeli drones downed after explosions heard in Iran's Isfahan. UN Secretary General G7 reiterates call for maximum restraint and condemnations as US blocks Palestine's full UN membership. What dailies do you have?
Oh, yes, indeed. I have the Saturday Vanguard, and the very first headline that jumps at you there is exchange rate. But why prices of goods will remain high despite Naira appreciation. And you can find that story on page 10 of the Saturday Vanguard. Now, when you look at the very top, Ondo 2024, intrigue as Ayedatiwa Jimo battle for APC ticket today. And you can find that story on page 22. And off to Nigeria's economy as IMF, why we asked Nigeria to withdraw oil subsidy. Heartbreaking thing about Africa. You can find that story on page 6 and on page 7 and also on page 13, PDP crisis, how Atiku's plot against Damagum collapsed. And just at the bottom there on page 7, his group tells him to retire, endorses Wike. Now, if you go onto the bottom, you'd find the headline story there. Yoruba Nation agitators misguided, seeking attention. Yoruba leaders on page 8. And on page 26, BS Law, or Bachelor Science Law, only in Nigeria. You can find that on page 26. On page 11, Okwama residents slam 200 billion suit. 200 billion naira suit, I beg your pardon, against the army. And that's on page 91. And finally, you can also find at the very bottom there, statement as NUPRC awaits co-ventures to conclude $1.3 billion ExMobil deal. You can find that story on page 7 on Saturday Vanguard.
Find something very interesting there about the Okoma residents and the 20 billion naira lawsuit slammed against the army. I think questions need to be asked. People need to get answers. Let's find out exactly what the genesis was. Saturday Telegraph. Now, why we asked Nigeria to remove fuel subsidy by the IMF. Interesting thing about this is it begins to look rather, let's say, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Let me see.
It looks understandable.
Yeah.
However, indications that it will be, well, plenty of sunshine after the rain.
Yes, indeed.
Insecurity. No sane person will invest in Nigeria, says Danjuma. Decries kidnappings, killings, crises that have made Nigeria laughing stock. Proliferation of illegal arms complicate efforts to restore peace in the north. This is Ribado. That on page 3. To the side of the main story here, jam to reschedule candidates affected by glitches, and FG states and LGs share 1.1 trillion naira revenue in March on page 2. And of course, at the bottom of the paper, Ohaneze hails Onyema, deplores conspiracy against air peace. Congratulations to him. 43 killed in fresh play to Kaduna attacks. That on page 3. That's all for the Saturday Telegraph. If you want to pick up that and perhaps maybe find some stories you might like.
And when you go on to The Guardian on Saturday, the very first headline that jumps at you, why Army released detained Delta monarch. You can find that on page 2 of the Guardian. At the bottom there, Adoke wins, court dismisses money laundering charge against him. And that's you can find that on page 3. Can somebody take example from this and also face their own case that's waiting for him?
Perhaps.
Instead of moving on, you can go on to page 29 and find this story. 172,025 members to elect APC's Ondo Guba candidate as Ayedatiwa Akeredolu's camp lock horns. And also on page 3 of The Guardian, SEC plans severe sanctions against unregistered digital asset operators. And at the very bottom there, ICPC FIRS partner to curb tax evasion and generate 1.9 trillion naira from public sector. And that's on page 3 of The Guardian. At the very top for their Saturday special, how poor enforcement of laws sustains child labor as modern day slavery.
Okay, so we're not just taking a look at the Nigerian dailies, we're also taking a look at some African papers here. Let's go to Zimbabwe. The Daily News has this headline here, Zim economy on the way up. They've got the Zim gold, by the way, it's called the ZIG. I kind of like it.
I like the name.
ZIG.
ZIG.
Nchwe adds that prices, currency stability imminent, Zesa fights to keep lights on. And other headlines at the very top, change of focus. The Membere Boso resume PSL race, that on page 16. What other daily do you have? I think that would be all.
That would be all that we can take at this time. That's as much as we can take this morning on the front pages of the Saturday dailies. this morning. That's all that we could take. But Mazino, which of the stories you found very interesting?
Well, really about the IMF one, I already indicated that it was a very interesting one, and I think everybody should actually read it because you only begin to understand what's happening in Nigeria. It's a very critical situation, but we need to pass through the eye of the storm to get out the other side. There'll
That's
be
the
lots
only
of
way.
suffering, but
That is the only way.
That's the only way.
That is the only way.
But I just think that a bit more information needs to be made available to the citizenry so we understand exactly what the government is doing. If they can't give us that information, that's what you get when people start to perhaps maybe struggle and complain and get agitated.
Right.
That's what we're finding happening.
But I think the agitation as well is also because of the economic uncertainty that we find ourselves. You know what I mean? The uncertainty and the topsy-turvy inflation rates have been going on for years now. It's been up, it's been coming up. Sometimes it's battling. There's also the hike in food prices, and this is far back as 2021, 2022, long coming. The hike of the food prices keep going up.
And of course the FX as well.
The FX as well is another question.
I'll tell you something.
To ride on that.
Regarding the prices not coming down and all of that, it's what to expect. People have bought commodities and stuff based on FX prices from before, and they're trying to recoup their money. And nobody's going to sell you anything less than for what they got it. Perhaps maybe on their next installment or their next stock, they're like, okay, I got to ship it this time. But then again, some of your brothers will not want to do. You know, the people I'm talking about.
Look at you now, do that. Can you see?
What I'm saying is, we just need to perhaps maybe just try and understand what's happening with the situation, all the indices that are plugged into what the prices are telling us right now. If we can get that, if we know, if we understand the basics of what's happening, if we have the information, government, if we have more awareness rounds, perhaps maybe people will let what's happening take its turn and then see the light at the end of your tunnel. The one you spoke about from before. No light, by the way.
Yeah. Another thing that we need to understand is that as Nigerians in and of itself, there's also a trust deficit with the government as well. So whatever that sometimes they want to do with good intentions, and even if they project it, because of years of that trust deficit, it's harder for them to want to trust the system. It's harder for them to want to trust those policies. And also, there's also the part of enacting the policy and then implementing it all the way through so they can see the benefit at the end. It's very, very difficult as well. And also, whenever they want to talk to the press, there's always that body language of being on the defense instead of them to come and say, okay, look, we understand. There's the body language of defense that gets them to raise their nose like, no.
About the press and talking to the press. Now, that's another situation I want to talk about. You talked about the Okoma people calling for 200 billion naira or suing the army for 200 billion naira. Regarding that, there was no press influence. We were left out. We still don't know exactly what's happening. And that call perhaps maybe would let us know exactly what's happening or what the genesis of the situation inside of Okoma was. There are very many murmurings that are very, very what's the word? Not very good.
Not very good at all.
Tell you what, coming up this hour, we'll take a closer look at one of the big stories that happened inside of the week from Nigeria here. And later on, we shift our focus to ongoing medical doctor strike in Kenya. You want to stay tuned for these very important updates. We'll be back. And you're welcome to what's supposed to be my fun bit for every single morning, and we call it The Strips. Just in case you don't know, this was my baby, and Judith kind of like fought against it for a while, but I said, no, we have to always talk about The Strips because these people put so much work into putting together all they do when it comes to translating the news into art. So let's take a look at our very first strip for today. Judith, are you with me on this one today?
Oh, yes, I am with you by force.
I am. It's not like as if I tied you up and kicked you and made you come. But in any case, our very first strip from this morning, let's take a look at that one now. What do we have for this morning? This one's going to be very fun, always is fun, as I think that the strips are our way of expressing ourselves in the space of doom and gloom. Now, from Business Day, from the 17th, that's last week of April, we have this one here. Check this out. I promised them I would bring you down with all the arrows in my quiver. That's referring to the president, by the way, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that's inflation there. The dollar is down. However, I mean, you want to explain this, Judith?
It's it looks. Is that an eagle? Is that an eagle?
It's an eagle.
on the.
It's an eagle. And
put
it's
them
carrying
up.
all our food stuff and everything with
And
it.
carrying it all the way high there.
It's like exactly what we talked about. The dollar's coming down, but everything's still skyrocketing. We're waiting for when that eagle is going to be, well, nailed down, let's put it that way. But a very interesting one from Business Day. I love Business Day because they have a very, very interesting way of putting together these strips. Stronger Naira fails to put food on tables, and that is exactly the situation for Nigeria. Let's take a look at what we have next for the new strips. And this one's from Newsday in Zimbabwe. This is regarding the Zimbabwean, well, very interesting one here. But I'm not really focused on this one. I'm going to tell you the one that I'm really focused on. If we can get the ones from the Guardian newspaper this morning, that's what I want to talk about. Hang in there, Judith. Let's take the one from the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian for the 16th. Now, monthly allocation on one side. That's a governor. The Guardian has a penchant for not exactly telling us exactly who they're talking about. And that's something I really want them to work on because we're not exactly clear and their captions are a bit here and there. But forget it. Our governor can't deliver us from this bandit. He too has been captured by another bandit, his godfather. Talking about godfathers in the Nigerian political system, they always still seem to have a hand inside of the runnings of every state or any state that they perhaps had been a part of from before. And that's exactly what this is indicating here. Judith, do you want to think of any instance from recently? You know, anybody? Any?
I know a couple, but I cannot say. I think there's so if it's banditry and insecurity and but the godfatherism throws me off, right?
It throws you.
That would be.
It did initially throw me off.
It threw me off. I'm like, wait, is it from the north? Is it the recent, one?
Yes, exactly.
Is it from the north? But which part of it?
So they were specific,
yeah,
and I don't want to throw myself in there and say this is what they're talking about. But very interesting one there.
Mazino, I liked the Zim at 44 because Zimbabwe. Yes, I did like that one.
Okay, you want to go back to that one?
Zimbabwe at 44, right?
Let's go back to that one.
Yeah. So Zimbabwe is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the independence. There are 44 years of independence, right? Post-independency. And you can see the president going in to try to clean up what clearly is a mess of everything, right? So the house there represents the mess and the paint is trying to paint it clean. But how then do you clean up all the refuse, everything that is going on with the country? I mean, economy is one. Policies, a lot is going on.
I wanted to take this last. You know why? Because we have our own wahala and our own mess to clean in Nigeria.
Oh, yes.
I wanted to bother about Zimbabwe for later. But it's okay, Sha. But thank you very much for explaining
it. No, Mazino, humor me, please.
Thank you for jumping the gun, Judith.
I'm sorry.
Let's take our next Nigerian paper. Now, what do we have? Let's see. The Punch newspaper has this very interesting one here. Now, this one, that is Nigeria. Believe it or not. Take a look at that donkey, how starved it is. Is this a representation of your country, Judith, or anybody out there who's watching? Is this what you're going through? The hardship, the naira in tatters, no light. That is your NEPA there. And of course, banditry. Everything captured in one single picture. Everything is, Nigeria is up on its hind, not even its, it's not even touching the ground, Seth. But this exactly describes what Nigeria is going through right now. Thank you very much, Punch newspaper. This is Ben. I think his name is Ben Oseki. Very good artwork. We like it. Thank you for
I would like that framed.
What's your take?
And put in every household, or rather put in every government establishment, every building.
You want this one next to the picture of the president and the state? Oh, Judith.
No, I never said. No, Mazino. I didn't know. Say that.
You are onto something there.
I know.
Great depiction.
What
and of course,
I said was frame it and put it in every building. So when they walk in, they see what exactly we're faced every single day.
But Judith, that's exactly what happens when you walk into any building, the president and the state governor, and the next to it, Nigeria.
Me.
What else do we have for this morning? Let's check out another news strip for this morning, and that will be Magic Happens Now. Booyah, Vanguard newspaper from the 18th. It's in black and white. Why? Is this not Nigeria? Nigerian distribution companies and discos claiming that they're going to do better for Band A customers. However, Band A customers on this side saying, okay, now you guys, what you got? Didn't we talk about this last week? We asked our guests, we said, do they have the capacity to provide exactly what they're saying? If they say they're going to provide Band A customers with 20 hours of I was going to say sunlight, 20 hours of light per day. Now that's a tall order, even for Nigeria. Only this week, the power grid collapsed on Monday, was restored immediately after. So it seemed like as if we didn't get much airtime because it was like that. However, how many times this year, Judith?
I think it's 4, if my number is
Fourth
correct.
time.
It should be 4. So in the last quarter, it's been 4. But again, don't quote me on this. I need to check it.
Yeah,
but,
we need to
we're
check them
working
out.
with 4.
But that's just giving you an idea of what is going on regarding our power distribution or our power generally in Nigeria. We are going to provide you with 20 hours, but we might not have the capacity yet. We're still going to charge you for it in any case. So we're going to raise the tariffs, and you guys can sort yourselves out eventually.
And whilst you're at it, make sure to turn off your refrigerators and your ACs.
Judith, you're a Nigerian. You are a Nigerian. If anybody's going to get a medal at the end of the show, it should be you.
Thank you so much. Should I give my speech now, or
No,
just wait?
at the end of the show, you'll give one. You just gave one from before. In any case, that's as much as we can take for the strips this morning. Like I say, I want this to be a big thing across Nigeria when it comes to Nigerian television. So I'm going to start this. And please take my name to it that I started this on television.
I beg ya.
Thank you very much. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
If you were to be asked what is one of your hobbies and you're Nigerian or even African, chances are it will be dancing. Now, if you have 2 left fits like Mazino, it's okay. I understand. But this time on Creative Corner, we're going to be taking a look at a studio or center where dance is being turned to transform lives. And this time, it's contemporary dancing. On Creative Corner today, we took a journey to the Q Dance Center, where children have been transforming their life with what is as simple and as fun as dance. Take a look.
Q Center started 10 years ago when myself and my partner, we moved back to Nigeria from France. And we started really looking at the landscape, and we thought, for some reason that many people know, young people make the mass of Nigerians. 65% of our population are below 25, I think. And then when I started digging into that, I realized that 80% of that population are unemployed or underengaged. So I started thinking, how can, because I'm a dancer and a choreographer primarily, how can dance really, my role as a choreographer, how can it come into tackling other issues that are not choreographic issues? More or less say, like, how can I choreograph my way through real problems? So we said, okay, you know what? We studied that even though the young people were underemployed, but at the same time, ironically, they were the ones that were really like very active in the social media platform, especially Instagram. As much as we were jobless, we were also producing a whole lot of content for big corporations like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and all of them. So I was like, okay, what if I create a kind of a space, physical space, where we can take their attention and then bring our own expertise, our own talent, our exposure, our knowledge, our understanding. What if we bring all of that to young people? How can we generate wealth out of that? And how can we also then create something that is tangible and exportable as well?
I have just a slight condition. It's scoliosis with the nerve twitch, which is called, some people know it as cerebral paralysis or whatever, but yeah, it's just a slight condition. And part of this actually helped and influenced my dancing and why I became a dancer up until now. I earned from dance in 2006, yes. Then I worked with a couple of people, attended workshops, just basically tried to develop myself even with my condition and how people see me and all of that, but it feels like I was just so focused with dance and what it what it should become of me, I met the Q Dance Center, and actually I met with Kudus first before meeting with the Q Dance Center, and we started with a workshop for Iwalewa, and I think that was it.
For me, dance is the most sophisticated way at which every human being use their body intelligence. So dance is not something that is foreign to anybody. Everybody knows dance. It doesn't have to be, the level might be different, but everybody can dance. I come from that understanding. So once that is set for me, then I can start working with any kind of body, any kind. A disabled body, able body, female body, male body, young body, old body, frail body, baby body, whatever body. So far I can understand what moves in that person, then my work is just to orchestrate it and help them, you know. So now if that's what people call contemporary dance, then that's what I do. 10 years down the line, the project has been very, very successful. I wouldn't lie. We've done a whole lot of different projects locally, nationally, internationally. When we started, it was very clear for us that we didn't want to focus our activities only in Lagos. So we've been traveling to Jos, to Enugu, to Kaduna, to Abuja, to Ibadan, to Ogun State, to just make sure that we keep amalgamating different young people who normally will mostly know themselves on Instagram, but we made it at a point of responsibility to organize different kind of events and gatherings and projects that brings people from all over Nigeria. The very first project we did when we started was in 2015. There was a project called Iwalewa. Iwalewa was a project we did with the British Council. There was a company from the UK who was a company that works with able and disabled bodies. And they came to Nigeria to partner with us. And then in that partnership, we also got to work with, we were able to work with dancers with disability and without disability. Even though it didn't go internationally, but that formed the base of the kinds of work we wanted to do and the level we wanted to push it. It took us 9 years before we eventually decided to formalize the school. The idea came very fast because, you know, I was away teaching at the University of Florida between 2020 and 2023. So I was always in and out of the country. So our project here just stayed mostly on our international tour with Reincarnation. But when we came back May this year, similar to when we came back 10 years ago, in June or something like that, or July, we just had the idea of, you know, let's start this school fully. And 1 month later, I was on the road, went to Jos, went to Abuja, went to Benin City. Then we did audition in Lagos. I think that was it.
This period of being a student of the Q School gave dance a meaning for me because it really helped me through a lot, made me see other sides of me that I did not even know, or that I could actually do, or things that I could actually do. It enhanced my ability to do other things. I've always thought that I could really dance until I came here and I saw dance from like a different perspective. And dance is not just moving your body, there's a whole lot to it. And then the dance is not just for entertainment, dance is therapeutic, dance is a whole lot more that people don't even know. Sometimes when I hold these conversations with people, from what I have learned here, people cannot even argue with me because most times they know that, oh, dance is just for you to just come and do Afro and then that's all of it. But they don't know that dance is deeper than that. It touches other aspects of life that people don't even have an idea about. For some persons, it's just for fun. But for us, it goes beyond that.
Knowing the Q Dance company, I've been able to see dance from a different perspective and not just dancing for dancing's sake. So it's almost like the dance is part of your life. You're using the dance to research into your being, your knowing of yourself, mentally, intellectually, how you see the world, how you assess your body as a human, how you sense and feel yourself. So I feel like going through the path of dancing as a creative venture has shaped my life very differently from the normal, everyday today work life.
It's been really taxing, if I should say. It's been really taxing because 3 years ago, I was like, when we were in the space dance gathering, I was totally off from everything everybody was doing. Like, what are these guys doing? Why are they moving like this? It wasn't like the regular. I was trying to adapt, and I knew what I was doing at that time. I was always at the back because I couldn't adapt. It was a whole new space for me. And then trying to fit into it, it was really challenging for me. And I grew up with that. From that moment, I grew up with that urge to really go into myself, to really understand why is this space different from every other space.
One of the reasons why we are very different in the country is because when we started working, the way we conceptualized what a dance center could look like or could be was very new to a lot of people. In fact, they're like, "How will you guys survive? How will you make money? You say you don't do TV shows, you don't do end of the year party, you don't dance in weddings. How are you going to survive?" We have understood how to actually realize that dance is one of the very few professions that creates a whole lot of added value to other people's projects. I can work with a musician, I can work with a filmmaker, I can work with an animator, I can work with a tech company. There's so many things that we can do, but majority of the people are focused only on one side of what dance can mean or what dance can generate. But because myself and my partner, we think divergently. So eventually we are really putting our hands and legs in many different things that people didn't even know that we could do with dance. Currently, we are working on a project titled Terrapolis. And Terrapolis was born out of my current obsession, which is the question of climate change. But at the same time, I have a very strong interest in ancient philosophy, ancient Yoruba intelligence, and cosmogony. So I've always been thinking, there's a whole lot of people in the world that is talking about climate change from the point of view of, what we've done to the earth, what we've done to the climate, what we've done to the environment. But I've always been very wary of that conversation about the we. Who is the we? Because without industrial revolution, we wouldn't be where we are now. And without slavery and colonization, there would have been no industrial revolution. So in a way, there's something called climate injustice as well that we have to deal with. The amount of injustices that has happened to indigenous people, either from South America or from Africa, is never being in question when we talk about the solution or the problematization of what we are doing to the earth. And for me, since I have an interest in this conversation, like every other thing, I'm then looking for ways to bring my own indigenous knowledge into this conversation. So instead of the royal British family that saw the sea as a logistic thing where you put a slave ship and goes to the other part of the world to get slaves and then take it to the other part of the world and then get natural resources and then take it back to their own country to turn into industrial revolution. Some other people, my ancestors, had been busy sacralizing the sea and worshiping and having a intimate relationship with it, and they have a much more respectful relationship with the sea. This is an example, and I can say the same thing for nature, for the forest, for the wind, for fire, for all the elements that we are now aware of fully. So our piece is talking about climate change, but more than just talking about the problems, thinking of what way can we appease this endangered or enraged energies. So if we look at the question of tornado, volcanic eruption, and what sea level rising, and why don't we, instead of talking about sea level rising, why don't we appease Yemaja? Instead of talking about the problem of tornado and wind problem, why don't we appease Oya? Instead of talking about the wildfire and everything that's happening, why don't we appease Shango? So for me, that's the corner, the angle we are coming into this piece from. So it's something that you should look forward to seeing. It's going to be crazy.
Breakfast Extra, each weekend we take a look at one or two of the biggest stories, or better yet, reports we had all week. Now, on Tuesday and Friday this week, April 16th and 19th, News Central's TV, they hosted a town hall meetings which were victims of the Jakande and Idumota demolitions respectively, along with relevant stakeholders were all in attendance talking about the fire and how it affected them. Now, Mazino was present at the town hall meeting, and he was there. He had a chat with our correspondent, Marshall, who we spoke to earlier on during our last broadcast of Breakfast Extra, who was also on ground as well to cover the fire since they started demolition. Let's quickly take a look at that video.
So it's been 10 days since after the fires here at Idumota, and I'm here with the one man who's been covering it since those 10 days, and that's Mr. Marshall. Good to have you.
Mazino, good to have you too.
Now, first of all, we want to tell people exactly, well, the report behind the report, what's been happening since the past 10 days. As I can see, the fire actually is still smoldering. There's still fire and smoke coming out, and I can feel the heat coming from, I don't know if it's underground, but I can feel the heat actually still present. So tell us what we missed inside of the report.
Basically, the details regarding the fire is the fact that someone was turning out fuel into the generator while it was still running, and then the generator, the can of fuel caught on fire, and then in a bid to, do away with it, he threw it, and he was on the 4th floor of the building that was here before now.
It was here?
Yes. He tossed the can of fuel all the way down. And
so this is supposed to be where it might have landed?
Not here exactly. Now, the road is quite wide. Forget the debris you see currently. The debris is from the buildings that have been collapsed, and some of them were also brought down, by the Lagos State government, those that were partially burnt down. But the building that started the whole fire was on this side, and he must have tossed it somewhere around the backyard, and so the fire started there, and it was all raging on that side of the market for a while before the fire service came. Now, the fire service guys were here when the fire went from this side of the road to this other side of the road. And what we were told was the fire took a while. It came first at the center of the road. Now, you'd know that the way the markets are here, you'd find people encroaching on the road, selling petty trades and all. And so I want to believe that those items that were being sold on the road were the items that attracted the fire, and these are materials, fashion accessories.
Can we walk and see exactly?
Yes, we can, I guess.
Like I can see some lace material here, and designs and decorative stuff.
Yes.
And there's more. All of these. I get an idea now.
Yeah. So that the fire caught up with these items, and then the next place it went to was this building here. Basically, this building was into the sales of fashion items.
So which one of these buildings were the first to go down because of the fire?
This one.
This went down?
Where it started.
Okay, so it started there, and that building went down first?
Yes.
And then these ones went down as
Went down next.
Next.
Yes.
Now,
and then you can tell the fire raged on and caught up with other buildings beside it, and then you can still see some of the buildings that were partially burnt and were not totally consumed in the fire.
So let's talk about the demolitions going on now. The Lagos State government has insisted that some of these buildings be taken down. Now, the affected buildings that caught on fire have been taken down. We can see the extension of that. But what about the buildings that have been earmarked for demolition because of perhaps maybe some structural defect or maybe encroachment or illegal buildings? Which are these buildings?
They are the buildings mostly that are on the other side of the road of the Dosomu Street. Now, this is called Dosomu Street. You can see the clustered nature of those buildings. You can tell that these buildings were not approved to be built or constructed in the manner that you see them now. You can already see that some of the window frames, the window materials are already being removed, the doors are already being removed. These are the occupants or owners of these buildings trying to salvage whatever they can, you know, before the Lagos State government comes to take these buildings down.
What were in those buildings, or what are in those buildings? Because they look residential. They look like flats or where people live. I can even see some people drying clothes outside. So that means people actually live in some of these buildings.
People live and trade.
Most of the ones in front here have storefronts, have gates and locks. So these are the ones that people actually trade in. What could have been inside of these buildings that, you know, could pose a hazard?
Well, you have industrial wares like boots, industrial boots, you know, overall clothing. You have some of them also selling fashion materials, basically industrial. You also have some of these buildings selling industrial materials like, would I say, chemicals. You know, chemicals that are used to treat farmlands, pesticides and insecticides.
So these victims, I think it's proper to call them victims now, had no insurance. This was something that just happened to them just like that. Have you gathered from them what next exactly after this instance? What are they going to do?
The typical thing is you would find them calling on the government to come to their aid. And that's currently what they're doing. In having a chat with them, they had appealed to the state government to come to their aid, to sort of provide some kind of relief funds to get them back on their feet. Some of them, this is just their major source of livelihood. For some, it's the end of the road for the family as breadwinners of the family. And then for others, it's, you know, picking whatever they can pick up or wherever they can pick up and going to start all over again. They are not thinking about insurance coming to their aid or anything like that.
We had to come right to the ground zero here to exactly see the magnitude of what's going on and the extent of it all the way far reaching up until that side, from one fire that started from just here, and how many lives have been affected. It's actually a very, very, well, I would like to say it's emotional, let me put it that way. But you've been covering this for 10 days. Now, specifically, how have you felt meeting these victims, hearing their stories, their plight? Has that elicited any sort of response from you emotionally?
Yes, Mazino, you said it's emotional. It's really emotional. Most of these people I met, some of them I approached them while they were still distraught, some of them crying, and some of them break down while in the middle of the interview. And even after the interview, I had some of them call me up to say they are still distraught. Just having someone to talk to, and News Central, for what we're doing, the town hall, the news had gone round, and they felt they could reach out to these guys covering the incident. And so I've had calls from them, and these calls are not just conversations, hello, how are you? These calls are them calling to cry out, to say they are distraught. At times, I'd look inwards, internalize, and wonder what I can do. Wish I could do more than just reporting the plight of these people.
Yeah. Well, you've done a fine job already, and we hope that somehow they get some respite, and we hope that perhaps maybe this all will be something of the past for them. But thank you very much for such grand reporting. We really enjoyed that you brought that to us in our homes. And everybody's seeing there, well, this is where it happened, and this is the man that's been with us on the situation ever since.
You watched earlier was a video with Mazino there, speaking with our correspondent who covered the fire at Dosumu, and that is Marshall. A little bit of insight on how the fire started and all the buildings that was razed down because the structures have now been compromised because of the fire, and also more buildings that are being marked to be razed down. Now, in a due time, we're going to bring you an interview. I have with me in the studio guests who are shop owners and also victims whose properties as well as their shops and goods have been razed by the fire. They're here with me in the studio, and we're going to be talking with them shortly. But before we do that, let us bring you to the news. We have Adebola on standby to bring you the news at 9. Debola, good morning to you. I know that so much is going on in Ondo at the moment for the elections. Let me let you bring the news now for us.
Yeah, good morning, Judith. Glad to see you again this wonderful Saturday morning. Yes, a lot indeed is happening in Ondo State. There is the APC primary, election there. And then let me just get straight into the news and just, fill you in. In southwest of Nigeria, the APC primary election is going on today. The direct primary election of the All Progressive Congress in Ondo State. Fumilayo Wahida Adekojo has called on delegates of the party to ignore zoning and to ensure votes are accrued for her. We'll go on a short break and then I'll bring you details of that subsequently. Yes, you're watching the Breakfast Extra here on News Central TV. Let's connect with Niyi Omoni, who is live in Ondo State to bring us up to speed with what is happening right there in the Sunshine State. Niyi, good morning.
Good morning, Debola.
Yes, just fill us in. What's happening in the Sunshine State?
Well, let's start with the fact that the sun is actually very, very high. And of course, because it's a Sunshine State, you would expect the sun to be this high. It's the D-Day, the day everybody has been waiting for. APC members, I would say, carrying party members, as I would say as well. And we know that just as we spoke earlier, or just as we spoke yesterday, one of the aspirant was calling for the fact that they shouldn't be zoning off the election to just the south. But that's why we took the initiative this morning to come to the south, because most of the aspirants are from the south, and we are at Ilaje local government area of Ondo State, where we have not majority, but we have a handful of some of the aspirants who came from here. And as you can see behind me, we've gone around, we've gone to some of the places where the poll is supposed to take place, but we've seen that most of at this polling unit, nothing has started there. However, I want to bring your attention to this mobilization point that I have here. So what is going on here is that because the materials have not gotten in from the committee who are supposed to bring them from Akure, by the way, let me state this, that Akure to this place is about almost a 3-hour drive, so it's going to still be taking a longer time for these people to get their materials. In the meantime, they are here gathering themselves and trying to mobilize to their various points and polling units which are across the waters. So from here, they pick themselves, put themselves together and take themselves across the water. But I have with me here the senior special assistant to the governor on mobilization, Honorable Shegu Michael. Please just give us more information. What time were you expecting the materials to get here this morning, and what is the situation so far?
Students, well, my name is Shegu Michael. Today is a very unique day in the politics of Ondo State, specifically two major contenders here, the incumbent governor of Ondo State and Chief Olushola. The consciousness is high. And by the grace of, we am for the governor, and by the grace of God, the governor will carry the day.
You've heard it from Mr. Shegun, and the truth is we've spoken to other electorates before now, and they are happy to come out today to actually cast their vote or show interest for who their candidate or their aspirant of choice will be. I have with me here a barrister, and barrister, just quickly share with me, how important is it for you to come out today to actually exercise your franchise?
Well, today is a very significant day in the life of an average that's people from those South Central District, and most importantly, people from Ilaje extraction. For the very first time, we have a governor in the state, and of course we still have Nigerians who are contesting for that same position. But of course we are very sure by the end of the day, Nigeria is going to emerge victorious. Nigeria is going to become the governor of the state.
Thank you very much. Debola, just to put this there, this is actually my community and it feels good to be home. However, we're all concerned. I wouldn't put myself in the mix, but of course I'm concerned for them. And of course they are also concerned, but by this time, they've not gotten materials to actually exercise their franchise. But soonest, hopefully, because the governor is also expected to come to this local government, he is also going to be exercising his franchise across the waters. So when he comes, we hope to get that live and give you more details as it unfolds.
Well, Nigi, talking about you coming from that community, just to also add, I am also from Ondo State, Akure precisely. But speak to me about what's the presence of security like there. Do you see the presence of security operatives right there while this election is to hold?
Yes, we can actually see. It's important to note that the primaries is not as big as the normal general election would be for the Ondo election. So we would not expect so much because this only contains party members, carrying party members. So we'll not expect to see so much security. But I can tell you for a fact that most of the places we've got into across various local governments, Okitipopa local government, even Akure where we're coming from, as early as 5 this morning, we could see security operatives all around and everywhere. And as you can see, one of the patrol vehicle just moved away from this place that was here earlier. And even towards the governor's area where we got to, we could see some patrol vehicles as well moving around there. What we, however, have not been able to ascertain is those riverine areas, the polling units across the waters, if we also have security operatives there. But of course, when we get that information, we'll certainly let you know.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for your coverage. Niyi Omoniyi, our correspondent right there live in Ondo State. Niyi, thank you once again. We'll keep tabs with you.
Thank you for having me.
And moving on to another story, the Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed May 17th to rule on an application by the Federal Inland Revenue Service seeking to serve by substituted means the charge against a top executive of Binance Holdings Limited, Nadeem Anjawala, who fled from custody while awaiting trial. Moses Deho, counsel to FIRS, hinted at moves to serve the charge of the fleeing defendant on Tigran Gambayan, the defendant who has been available since the matter started. This comes days after the presiding judge, Justice Emeka Nweti, had ruled that it was proper to serve on Gambayan the charge against Binance, which is the first defendant in the case. The judge had granted the application of the prosecution, stating the defendant could represent the crypto exchange company. The Nigeria Police Force has detained a female police officer who was the aide-de-camp to embattled former governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello. The ADC was arrested alongside other police officers attached to 48-year-old Bello and has been detained at the State Criminal Investigation Department, Federal Capital Territory in Abuja. The arrests and detention followed a Thursday night order by the Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Egbetokun, directing their immediate withdrawal from the former governor. Senior police sources noted that the officers were arrested on the suspicion that they aided and abetted Bello's escape from operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, who had gone to effect his arrest at his house in Abuja on Wednesday. Now to security stories. The Nigerian Army has released the arrested monarch of Ewu Kingdom in Delta State, who was detained following his declaration of being wanted by military authorities and a subsequent submission of himself to the police in the state over allegations of being complicit in the killing of about 17 Army personnel at Okwama community. The Director of Information of the Army spoke to newsmen at the Army headquarters in Abuja, saying ongoing investigations have not established the culpability of the monarch, though available evidence does not also exonerate his complicity. The monarch was released to the federal lawmaker representing Delta Central Senatorial District on the grounds he will be provided whenever he is needed.
In this light, His Royal Highness Clement Ikolo Ogenerukewe, the King of Ewu Kingdom of Delta State, in whose domain the dastardly acts took place, surrendered to the Nigerian police, who in turn handed him over to the Nigerian army.
Meanwhile, residents of Okwama Ewu, Uheli South, a local government area of Delta State, have instituted a 200 billion naira suit against the Nigerian army as the Federal High Court worry for cordoning off their community, destroying their homes, dehumanizing and accusing them of killing 17 military personnel without police investigations. The residents of the community, whose lingering land dispute with the Okoloba community, Bomadi local government area of the state, escalated, leading to the intrusion of soldiers into the community on March 14th, demanding 200 billion naira for general and exemplary damages from the Nigerian army. The applicants, mainly farmers, traders, and businessmen, who applied for the enforcement of their fundamental human rights to a fair hearing, the dignity of the human person, freedom of movement, and the right to own property, are Victor Okemo, Madam Omotirowo Olarehan, Victor Odi, Okreka Emmanuel, Austin Eferemwa, and Evelyn Ejekola. Others in the suit before the Honorable Justice I.M. Sani are Pa James Obredu, David Ogenewede, Lucky Orode, Iworigbo Best, Felix Orihunu, Bernard Michael Ogenekobro, Vero Joseph, Ebikawe Emmanuel, Francis Opure, and Honorable Belvis Adobo. They are suing for themselves and the residents of Okwama community. And that's all. Underneath, it's back to Judith at Atibi.
Thank you so much, Adebola there. My eyes are on Okwama this morning to see what will happen with this lawsuit that's been filed by these individuals and indigents of Okwama. But many thanks for bringing the news. We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
We'll take a short break at this point. When we come back on the other side, on Breakfast Extra, we go in depth into and hear from the victims of the Dosumu market fire. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. As promised, we said we were going to bring you victims and traders who have shops and shop fronts at Dosumu Market, who their goods, properties have now been razed by the fire. Now, earlier on, Mazino had the opportunity to talk to one of the victims that were there, as well as our correspondent who was on ground there at that moment, and we showed you the video of him and Marshall right there at the site of the fire with the buildings all razed down. Now, I am joined in the studio by three of the traders that are there. I'm going to start with Kuje Abimbola Rafiach. She's a trader in Kiddies Toys. I also have Idayat Alison Dosumu. She's a trader in fashion and clothing materials at Dosumu Market, as well as Alaja Modinat Bakari. She's a trader, clothing and tailoring materials. Welcome, ladies. Let me start by saying what you three and every other traders have faced is unimaginable. Just seeing the news, hearing the news, and watching the fire as it continued to rage for days on. It's and especially in these times, economic uncertainty, the prices of goods have jumped. Everyone is struggling to get by, just pulling themselves by the bootstrap to get by. So please, please accept my condolences.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for coming on. I guess my first question would be, how's it been so far? 10 days now and counting since the fire started. Has it been so far for every single one of you? And let me start with you, Koji.
It's not been fine, but I just needed to come out of it because of the children that are involved in it. My children are small, so they don't understand too much. So I just need to be strong for them. But at times I cry in the corner just to control myself and get myself back together, but it's not been easy.
Right. Alison?
It's not been easy. Things has been tough, you know. I traveled. I just came back, hoping after Salah, I will start my business, but I came back to nothing. So I don't even know what to do. I don't know where to start from. I'm just like stuck. I don't know what to do. It's tough. I tell you, it's very, very tough.
It's tough indeed. Alhaja?
What has happened at Dosumu is very tough for everybody. It's not easy for us. It's not easy. Some woman in the market, a single woman, no helper. Some is not have husband. It's the one that care for the children, I care for the home.
So we want government to help us because we are not have anything to start our business more. Thank you.
I mean, thank God you just pointed to the government. The market have now closed down. They're raising the building. Are the right government or state officials, have they been in touch with the traders in the market or even the union? And what are they saying?
Oh, they came, Sanwo-Olu came and some officials, they talk and they said they're going to help us. They said they will help us and they will see to it. But, you know, we are waiting on them to really do what they said they're going to do. And we hope they do it. You know, we are calling state, we are calling federal to help us. Whatever happened in Dosunmu with the fire, it's affecting more than 200 people. Livelihood of people, I'm telling you. Their stock, their everything. All these men and women, that's where they sell, that's where they make money. And now to send their children to school, now everything is gone down the drain. There's nobody to face. There's nobody to help. So all we can ask is government to just have mercy on us and do something for us. Like they said, they came, they talk, we just hope whatever they said is going to be done.
Oh.
Aside from that visit, there's been no communication with them, no one checking in with the victims that have lost their properties. Is there one representative that is in constant communication with the victims?
No.
Not at all.
Not
I just know they came, they talked to us, and we've been given paper few times to write names, and which we did. And that's, even yesterday, we still write names. That's all we are doing every day.
To write names and write numbers on, and nobody has acknowledged us that they got a message to send us a DM that they've seen the thing they're going to do something about, because that's what I expected of them, to send us messages.
So when they came in, did they do any evaluation of the properties that were lost?
No.
No, they were just on the building. No. They're still working on the building. The ones that are,
one by
they're
one.
going to try to take down and see if there's no proper mate. That's all.
What do you, in terms of aid, what exactly do you expect the government to do? Now they have shut down, they've closed down the market, raised down the building, they have communicated and said that they would help. They've asked for the list of the traders and their numbers. Is that enough, or do you want more?
Obviously, we want more.
And what's that more?
The money is for them to tell us the valuation of what the goods that we had inside, what it was, so we can pick it up from there. Because if the government own the properties and they wake up tomorrow morning to say, oh, go ahead and start opening up a market, we lost ours and nothing to show for. There's nowhere we're heading to. We're just going to be stuck. And when the old thing starts, when they open up the markets, people that still have their properties will go on with the business. Then while we sit at home, we're going to be dying of depression because no one is to get back to us. And you know, as businesses, everybody just try to mind their business since it didn't affect them. But we that is being affected, we are not seeing much happening right now. We just keep writing names, writing numbers.
Koju and Elijah, as well as Idayat, the fire source was from a generator.
Yes.
It was from a generator that got caught fire, and then everything raised up, and they were all flammables.
Yes.
The argument would be the fire is the trader's responsibility, and so they should be the one in charge of recovery. What would you say to that statement?
Oh, in that kind of question, I would say yes and I would say no at the same time, because the fire didn't come from our ends. Like my building is just right opposite where the incident happened. I mind my business and I had a fire extinguisher because that's the least they asked us to put in the shops, which I did, which I brought mine out to help. But there was not much we could do about it, because if you're talking about that, that has to be like something to do with the individual, the owners of the main properties. Should be the one for them to have an investigation, and not we. Because somebody else's caused the damage does not mean the whole nation is going to suffer it. We're not saying we've been forced on the government. We're just saying they should have a sympathies because it's democracy. They should help us. That's all we need. Help.
You come for the help.
Elijah, you want to add something to that?
I want to beg our Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to help us because nobody have anything to start a business more again. This issue is happening about few of 200 something people, like 250 people in the market. Some people are crying, both shop and the stores. Some people have 3 stores, 1 shop. Everything has gone.
What are all the traders doing? Everyone who's lost something.
Some people are doing.
What are they doing to cope so far to try to rebuild themselves?
Nothing so far for now because most of us are importers. So it's more or less of our majority of our life savings we put on business. And because of the due to the dollar rate, we had to buy because we need to stock. Like me, I just offloaded. We need to stock. If you don't stock, we can't make it because we are not the building owners. We're just we rent. We have to pay for the shop owner, the building owners, and do other bills. So there's no way we just need to stop because we can't just keep holding on to the dollar. So every one of us has to come out, regardless of the dollar going up. We just have to keep pushing ourselves to become something. But now it's all gone. So there's nothing, we just have to calm because what I just believe that when there's life, there's hope. So it's the hope I'm waiting for. Because I even had a wound during the incident, but I'm alive. So it's the hope I'm waiting for.
Uju, thank you so much for coming. Dad, many thanks for coming. Halaja Mudinat, I appreciate you for coming. These are women who have lost their properties and, of course, their businesses as well at the Dosumu market fire that happened 10 days ago. So far, the market have been closed and indefinitely, and more buildings have been razed down since then, and more has been marked to still be razed down. They are calling on the government for assistance, especially for those who, unfortunately, didn't cause the fire, but they just happened to be in the way of the fire. Many thanks for coming, ladies. We'll take a short break. When we come back on the other side, we'll continue with Breakfast Extra. Stay with us.
It's a different feeling when you stand right here, what I call ground zero for the Idumota instance when it comes to the fires that raged since 10 days ago. Now here I am in the middle of what could be said to be a very special portion of the market because right next to me is the Dosumu Street. Now why that is important, I'll let you know in just about a minute. On the other side to my right is number 1 Dosumu. Now that is very significant because here with us today, we are actually with Princess Toyin Dosumu, whom the street is actually named after. She'll be telling us a little bit about the history and what she lost inside of the fire instance here at the market. Princess, please come over. Thank you very much, ma. So I'm going to conduct this interview in Pidgin English so that we can get the quality and every single emotion from Princess Toyin Dosumu. Mama, ekaroma. Yes, ma. So, mama, first of all, we hear say this street na Dosumu Street. You na Princess Toyin Dosumu, abi?
Yes.
So why it take be Dosumu Street?
Na my grandfather, my street to be this, and I have house there too.
Okay.
I have shop, warehouse, planking store. It's there.
Who be your grandfather, Gangan?
King Akintoye Dosumu.
King Akintoye Dosumu. So now him being the ruler of this.
Oh.
Okay, so Mama, I also hear say your shop been there that side. Number 1 Dosumu, abi? Okay. Number 5 Dosumu. Okay, number 5. So how many shop you been getting inside?
I get 17 shop, warehouse, and parking store because na 4-story building.
Now what's been there inside?
Na tailor materials. Then they said there. So then they import everything come. Wedding gown. Then they said different things.
So now the business way they do now be that Nabi?
Yes, now the business I dey do.
Shey na that business you take train all your children?
By the grace of Allah.
So as this one can happen now, how you do it for body?
It pain me too much because this the thing where I have, where my dad leave to me. Say make I demand. They can't burn everything for me. So I'm begging every person where fit help me. I'm going to 70 years now. Which power I have to work like before? Just sit down for one shop, they sell my market, they take my money, train my children. I get grandchildren too.
Shay, now you be market leader for the whole place.
I'm not market leader. I'm not your job. I'm not anything. But I dey stand for my feet, say, this is my grandfather street. She can't spoil. And they can't bring fire to burn it for me.
Mama, we don't hear what you talk, and I sure say everybody will get matter inside don't hear as well. So that was a very emotion-laden experience there, even for me. Now you can see just one of the lives that this instance has actually touched and how far-reaching it is. Not just the individuals, but the individuals that they take care of and the history that also comes with it. Well, what can I say? We'll continue to follow the story, and hopefully that most of the people who are victims here today will find succor.
Welcome back. Now, let's talk about happenings from last week. The Federal High Court in Lagos State on Wednesday granted businessman and socialite Pascal Okechukwu, popularly known as Cubana Chief Priest, most of you know him, 10 million naira bail with two sureties and like some. Earlier, the celebrity barman pleaded not guilty to tampering and also abusing the naira during his trial. Now, there's more to that story because he wasn't the only one.
Cubana Chief Priest was arraigned before Justice Kehinde Ogundare on 3 counts bordering on abuse of the naira by allegedly spraying and tampering with the nation's currency at a social event, contrary to the provisions of the Central Bank Act of 2007. He was alleged to have sprayed the naira on February 13th, 2024 at a hotel in Lagos.
Now, however, and if you remember, Justice Abimbola Owogboro of the Federal High Court sitting in Ikoyi, Lagos on Friday, April 12, 2024, sentenced Idris Okuneye, aka Bobrisky, to 6 months imprisonment over mutilation of the naira note. Now, he was arraigned on Friday, April 5, 2024, on a 4-count charge bordering on mutilation of the naira notes to the tune of, I think, about 490,000 naira.
That is correct.
Now, he was also sentenced to 6 months in prison.
Now, remember, according to Section 21 of the CBN Act of 2007, it is an offense to abuse the naira. Joining us?
Yeah, joining us this morning. You're very excited about our guest.
Oh, yes, I am. I'm excited
joining
about
us
this
this morning to discuss, well, the difference in outcome of the arraignment. We have Mr. Ilo Azaino, no relations to Mazino, managing partner, Rose Not Solicitors, and also Mrs. Bingbe Akinfola Jimmy, creative director, Honeyballs Events, President, Party Planners Association of Nigeria. You are welcome. Good to have you guys.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Let's tell that you are a lawyer, aren't you? And of course, you're dressed for the part, an event planner.
Yes.
Good to have you guys here. We have very interesting questions for you. Do you want to start?
Oh, yes, please. I'll take the honors. But first, can I say your blouse is beautiful? The flower matches me. The
matching.
Thank you. You look beautiful.
So let me start with you, Elo. Right. Let's take a look first at the Idris Bobrisky Okuneye instance. Right. What's your take on the sentencing? Do you agree with many that it might have been too harsh, or it is too harsh?
I totally disagree in all its entirety. I think the judgment of the Honorable Court was apt. It was well delivered. And one has to consider that in the case of Idris, he pleaded guilty. Now, Section 21 of the CBN Act is express. The minimum you will get is either a fine of 500,000 or not less than 500,000 or not less than 6 months. So if he pleaded guilty, the court merely just pronounced the sentence, and it's at the discretion of the court. We cannot sit down here and begin to imagine what was in my Lord's mind when she was delivering that judgment. But he pleaded an acquittal to say he was a first-time offender and he would use his social media platform to galvanize and sensitize Nigeria. But then again, one would ask, when you are pleading, even, how did he plead? We were not there, but you would recall that it's on news that the judge has to ask him, are you a man or a woman? So if at that moment you are pleading for mercy, the person that is to sentence you does not even know your sex is a problem even. So that's just a narrative. No one can go into the mind of the mind, but such powers, although discretionarily, ought to be exercised judiciously. And I think the Honorable Court in that instance did that perfectly well.
Wow. Very interesting. I'm going to come to you, ma'am. But first, that was a very interesting input that you put there regarding the mindset of the judge, regarding the person that's being sentenced. I never looked at it that way. However, let's look at the difference between the Bobrisky instance and the Cubana High Chief instance. Now, Cubana High Chief pleaded not guilty. Right. Bobrisky did the opposite. Would the outcome have been different had he pleaded guilty, not guilty? That's Bobrisky now.
It's the same thing. If he pleaded not guilty, you have a day in court. Then the prosecutor, being the EFCC in this instance, will have their day in court, and the matter will go into full trial. But he pleaded guilty, and all that was left was for the court to issue out a sentence, however he deemed fit. The court was merciful because the court would have even ordered him to pay a fine in excess of 50,000 and still order him to stay in the prison correctional center for a way longer time.
Now,
so it's a matter of discretion.
If he had said not guilty,
he would have been granted bail because he's entitled to bail.
So what if he had been granted bail, he would have had another day in court?
In court, yes. To prove his case.
To prove his case. And that proving of that case, what does that entail now? He has to prove that these were Nigerian currencies?
It's not for him to prove. It's for the prosecutors, the EFCC, to establish, prove beyond reasonable doubt that he did abuse the Naira.
Now, what is, in detail now, does that mean they have to find out if the Naira that was being sprayed in these videos that were purportedly, if they're original Nigerian Nairas, and how would that have been possible?
Not necessarily, because even handling of dud notes, fake note itself, is a problem in Nigeria. So if you are alleging that they are dud note, do you have a certification? Do you have the permit? What was the event? Was it for a movie set, a video production? What was the event that warrants you to be in possession of such Naira note? And evidence is evidence.
Interesting. Now, Judith, I'm sure we have questions.
I wanted to ask something first to Elu. What does the sex of the person have to do with the sentencing?
It has nothing, absolutely. I said discretionary powers. If I come here to you and I'm asking for mercy, that please dash me one error, and you don't know who I am. That's the issue, because if you look at me, you can tell that I'm a man. But if I come here and I'm dressed in a certain way, you cannot identify me. I'm not saying that is the reason, but when you beg for mercy, we're all humans. When you beg for mercy, there are standards. He attended his father's burial. You ask yourself, how did he dress?
As a man.
Now, I mean, that whether or not, I don't think that, anyway, sex and justice
it was never
well, let me come to you, maybe. Let's look at this, right? Spraying the money, or our culture in and of itself, when you think about celebrations, when we go out to parties, money spraying is so much part of our culture. It is pretty much ingrained at the side of our brain. Why is that a big part of it, especially when it comes to the event industry as well? You're in the event industry. When you go for weddings, when you go for whatever it is, there's somebody outside with bundles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like ready to exchange. You know, there's literally an industry. Why is that?
You can't talk about Owambe without talking about money spraying.
Owambe.
Yes. I think
I would tell you that for free.
Yeah, and I think it's part of our culture, especially Yoruba people, and it is a sign of, as I said, appreciating our loved ones when they are having occasions. That is just, You just have to, that is the mentality. Let me put it down. Okay, I have come to honor your invitation and I want to appreciate you as well. So I think I need to spray you. I think that is the general mentality. And when it now comes to the abuse of Naira, yeah, Yoruba, we actually, Yoruba, let me, sorry, don't take it as if I'm talking about Yoruba people.
Oh, no, it's okay.
I think money spray started from Yoruba. It's more or less a Yoruba culture until other people imbibe it. If I come to a party, we value Naira so much. We know what money means. So I think what the government is really trying to say about is the abuse of it. By the time you see people spraying money and people are marching on it, it is a no for us, even as event specialists.
So how have you guys managed to, are there alternatives that you guys have put in place when it comes
like we always advise our clients, and most of clients don't really want to listen to it. I know some,
that part, but keep going.
Most of our clients don't want to listen to our advice most times. They want, can I use the word of show off? They want people to come and spray them. I just discussed with the client yesterday, okay, about events coming. I said, the thing you should do is, on your invites, can we just have your account details on it? For those that want to spray you money, they want to appreciate you, they want to support your events, can you just send it through your bank account? But in the case where we want some people, even when you put it on the invites, a lot of people will not respect that. They'll still want to come to the party to spray you. But I think we advise our clients, whatever it is. You can't, whatever we do, we respect what the law says about everything we do in the event industry. You can get a bag instead of spraying it on the floor. I think that's what gets put in the bag.
Or envelopes.
Envelopes.
What is really interesting about this, and you just said about them putting their account numbers on the invitation card and finding ways to, curtail that spray.
Yes.
I know of a friend whose wedding, they created a gift list, right? And they sent out their wish list link to everyone. Tell me why nobody contributed and bought it. But instead, it's not like they didn't want to. Don't get me
element
wrong.
of show-off seems
just
to be very big in our culture.
And then when I asked, I'm like, oh, I'm noticing no one is buying anything. And she says, yes, I had to ask as well, why is no one getting anything? And they said, oh, what would not happen on the day? You know what I mean? Like, what would not happen on the day? Because apparently spraying money is a side attraction.
You can still come to party to spray money, but you can put it in a bag. Instead of putting it on the floor, and other people will be matching on it. It is very wrong.
Yeah.
Let's take the side of the law out of it now. Culturally, morally, it is very wrong.
It is.
To be matching on money. Yeah. It is very, you know what money stands for, you know what it means. So then
what about the alternatives of having these, and this also is an extension to you now, Ilo. The alternate people actually print these.
Yes, that's what I was about saying now. So you can also have this dumb money.
Vouchers.
The vouchers, they come to spray it. I think that's fine.
The internet has done a wonderful number, right? Well, I love the internet.
It's done what it does.
It does what it does. It went to dig up videos of numerous high-placed Nigerians, committing the same crimes. What's the Commission's outlook on these many instances, being raised?
So the Commission, in the press release, said is investigating a lot of celebrities. I personally feel, in my own personal opinion, that the invite out there is to serve as a deterrent. So whatever is going on, now the law did not say everybody. So 1,000 persons might commit the same act, but the law can use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as an example to set as a deterrent. Now, if you go to events in Lagos, speaking, I was in one last week, nobody sprayed a kobo. Now, it's not just spraying alone, mutilation of the Naira, stamping on the Naira, even buying the Naira. So the matter goes more than how we are looking at it. The POS personnel, because we are Lagos. Lagos is the central of Nigeria. But if you go to an ATM machine, you will not be able to see Naira to withdraw. But the nearby POS lady does have money. Are you buying the Naira? Once you are buying the Naira, they will tell you, we are not buying, we are taking charges. But the question to ask then is, why are you taking charges from the point of sale? Because that's the meaning of POS. That's no longer, you are selling the Naira. So I think the EFCC, if they want to do a holistic work, should cut across board and really look at this thing holistically and deal with perpetrators of this fraud to at least give the Naira some sanctity.
Now, back to these videos that are coming out on the internet. There's also the talk of the date when the EFCC indicated that it will start going after, I think it was February 7th, if I'm not mistaken. Is that the reason why perhaps maybe some of these older videos are not being taken into account by the Commission, and why they're going after videos that perhaps have been launched since after the 7th of February?
That can be a possibility, but the law, CBN Act, the one that was repealed was in 1991, that was repealed in 2007, and unlike other civil cases that have statute of limitation, for crime, you do not have a time, so they can go back or come to the, whenever they want to. They have those prosecutorial power to do what they have and they want to do. So there's really no time frame about it. Maybe there's a reawakeness of it now to strengthen the Naira and sanctify the Naira for whatever reason they are doing what they are doing. But it can date back to at least 2007 when the CBN Act came into effect.
It makes me wonder, Bingbe, if, when planning these events and being there, are there people who, in spite of you finding all the ways to mitigate it and deter them from not spraying Naira, sometimes things go out of control, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And give me those instances.
That's why we have some of our guards. At any event, you see our security guards there. So we ask our security guards to do their job by stopping them from doing it.
Right.
Yes. And we make announcement about it. But after the announcement, they will ask the guards to take over. So those are the bouncers, the security guards. They are the ones to take care of anything aside the instruction we have given.
All right, because Nigerians are really stubborn people.
Yes, they are. Very, very.
We do have some audience participation questions here for you, but this one I think is going to be for you. Now, in the many cases that might be raised, that the law indicates proper investigation that follows due process, the law indicates that there should be due process. Some processes indicate confirmation that the currency being abused must be identified as a Nigerian authentic currency. Now, remember when I was asking you regarding how they intend to actually verify if those monies being sprayed are Nigerian currencies?
So the money are being sprayed.
How will they do that? These are videos. You can't enter the video.
One has to be careful in answering this. These are live matters in court. I do have a personal opinion.
Okay.
Expressing it is easy. So it depends on which side of the divide I am. If I am for the prosecutor, I know what to do, because those videos, whatever defense you're saying, if it's a semblance of the Nigerian Naira, are you affirming that you faked it? Because if you are saying you are not spraying the original.
What is a semblance?
A semblance.
If you go back to BP.
Yeah, because I'm so glad you said this.
What exactly is a semblance?
Now, I know there are people who try to print something that looks like a semblance, but it's not really it, because there are different designs, and
maybe even their pictures.
The pictures is now printed there.
Is that illegal?
Is that illegal as well?
That cannot be deemed illegal, because you can have a form of a voucher. So it goes to every facet. You go to clubs. What happened now is no longer how we used to know the clubs to be.
I don't know club, but you go to club.
I go to club. So it's not the way it used to be.
Wow, you got to take me sometime.
I'm not there.
You're not there.
What you were saying.
However, it is. So unlike the days whereby you just budget for drinks, right now people budget for money to be sprayed. So it's an advice out there going out, the notification of the individuals coming to these public places, if they can get voucher instead. It can just be a yellow paper signifying a set of sum. But it's more deep-rooted than that. Even ways to circumvent it, you might discover that you are still committing an offense. Are you selling the Naira? Because that itself is a criminal offense.
That selling the Naira part is what gets me in a bind, right? Because the reason why the POS machines and the POS agents were created was because of the unbanked. There is a number of the unbanks that we have, especially in the north and rural Nigeria, is wild. It is a wide number that, even though the banking industry as well as the tech companies are trying to close that gap, they cannot do it. And so that discrepancies like this will happen, right? And so we need to fine-tune that particular part of the law. What exactly is selling the Naira when the ATM machines are not working, when all of this are not... There's also the light issues as well. So how best can we sell it?
So if you...
Or how best can it even work?
For current trends, when this point of sale machine started, far back in the rural areas, I used to hear it. In Lagos, you go to an ATM. If you don't, this one doesn't pay you, the next one will pay you. But I'm talking about in VI, where we have at least 90% of all the banks their head office are domiciled in behind, they have branches, but you would drive the stretch of any street and no ATM will pay you because those money either allegedly have been sold to these POS operators. So there need to be restriction on it. I understand this POS operating in rural areas. What about urban areas like Lagos? Why can't I just go to an ATM and withdraw money? So we need to ask these questions. Diligent prosecution and investigation needs to be done to ascertain why aren't these banks paying or funding their machines anymore? Why do I have to use the POS?
Well, we've spoken so much about this, and there's never enough time. I want to say thank you very much, Ilo, for coming through, and Madam Gingpe, thank you very much for coming through and giving us insights from your different perspectives, your industry especially. Thank you very much. Now, we are going to go on a break, but we're going to be coming back to talk about something very interesting. Amongst others, the NEC, the PDP NEC meeting from over the week. We'll be touching on that. We, of course, have our guests waiting online, and we'll be making sure that they have their say here. Stay tuned. It's Breakfast Extra. Well, welcome back. So much happening today, this Saturday, especially inside of Ondo State, and very soon we'll be bringing you the news and everything. All the details are therein, but we've had a very interesting session so far the past 2 hours, myself and Judith.
Yes, we have.
Very interesting instance regarding the Naira case here, which was quite interesting to see the different opinion from different walks of life.
I think we're having this conversation pre-production long before, we brought them in. And I'm so glad that she was able to put into perspective what the event planners have to deal with, because this wouldn't even be happening if they're not at the event, if they're not there, spraying the money there. And that's where they are at. And so the event planners have to tackle with this. But also, I'm also glad that Elo was helped us to put into context what it is, because my worry was that if you're saying that these two persons, we've seen multiple videos of them spraying the Naira as well, why is the other not getting the same, as the other person is, so there's a lot that is going on.
So coming up, we're also going to be talking about the Ganduje instance. What's happening there? Well, to help us discuss that, we have two gentlemen, Bala Ibrahim, and also, who else do we have now?
Oh, yes, indeed. We also have Ladipo Johnson, who is the National Publicity Secretary, New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP. A very good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I know we have been waiting for an hour right there on Zoom. Many thanks to both of you for holding fort and waiting, and we'll definitely start that conversation. But in the meantime, we're going to bring you the news at the top of the hour. And Debola is right there waiting. Debola, how are you doing?
Hi, Judith. I'm doing fantastic. Mazino. Good morning to both of you. Glad to see you again another Saturday morning.
Glad to hear you this time. Last week we couldn't, but good that. And I was going to tell you a secret from last week, but I'm not going to do that again. Should I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I should?
Yes.
Well, what you don't know.
He's teasing. Don't mind him.
Right.
Anyway, I'm sure you're going to bring us more on details on Ondo as well. I mean, some eyes are on Ondo, especially for the APC primaries as well. Let's look to see who will be the flag bearer for the ruling party.
Indeed.
Do you have any expectations yourself, Debola?
Well, so far so good. I watched one of the rallies, conducted by one of the contenders, and that's Debo Ibrahim. Seems promising, but then we have other strong contenders. Remember, we have the incumbent who is in power. And you know what they say about the power of the incumbents. But hey, let's just see how things turn out. But
yeah. Where are you from, by the way?
I am from Ondo State.
Oh, shit. I just thought to ask.
Oh, goodness.
That election.
All right, then. Let's see you bring the news to us.
We'll begin in Nigeria's southwest, where all is set for the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State to pick its governorship candidates today. 16 aspirants will be jostling to clinch the tickets to become the APC governorship candidates in the state. The ruling party had announced that 171,922 members drawn from the 203 wards of the 18 local government areas of the state will take part in today's primary election. The Kogi State Governor, Usman Ododo, in Ondo State is in Ondo State to oversee the APC primaries. And moving on to another story, the Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed May 18th to rule on an application by the Federal Inland Revenue Service seeking to serve by substituted means the charge against the top executive of Binance Holdings Limited, Nadeem Anjarwalla, who fled from custody while awaiting trial. Moses Idaho, counsel to FIRS, hinted at moves to serve the charge of the fleeing defendant on Tigran Gambayan, the defendant who has been available since the matter started. Now, this comes days after the presiding judge, Justice Emeka Nweti, had ruled that it was proper to serve on Gambayan the charge against Binance, which is the first defendant in the case. The Nigeria Police Force has detained a female police officer who is the aide-de-camp to the embattled former governor of Kogi State, and that's Yaya Bello. The ADC was arrested alongside other police officers attached to 48-year-old Bello and is being detained at the State Criminal Investigation Department, the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja. Their arrests and detention followed a Thursday night order by the Inspector General of Police, Oluwakayode Egbetokun, directing their immediate withdrawal from the former governor. Meanwhile, residents of Okwama Ewo Ogeli South local government area of Delta State have instituted a 200 billion naira suit against the Nigerian army at the Federal High Court, Warri, for cordoning off their community, destroying their homes, dehumanizing and accusing them of killing 17 military personnel without police investigations. The residents of the community, whose lingering land dispute with the Okoloba community, Bomadi local government area of the state, escalated, leading to the intrusion of soldiers into the community on March 14th, are demanding 200 billion naira for general and exemplary damages from the Nigerian army. A late-night attack on Friday in Chikang community in Bokos and Telangpat in Mango local government area of Plateau State have left an unconfirmed number of people dead and many others injured. Media officers of Operation Safe Haven, Major Samson Zakom, says 3 students of the Plateau State University in Bokos were among those reported killed in the incident. He added that while some troops tried to contain the situation, the protesting students set their checkpoint ablaze, escalating the incident at hand. And still staying in West Africa, Togo lawmakers have given a final approval to a constitutional reform switching to a parliamentary system that opposition parties say will allow President Faure Gnassingbe to extend his grip on power. The approval came days before the April 29th legislative elections in Togo, but the opposition has criticized the reform for creating a new prime minister-style post they say will allow the Togolese leader to avoid term limits to stay in office.
D'ouvrir une nouvelle page pour ça marche vers un pays, on va dire, vers une démocratie encore plus inclusive et participative. Le régime, le nouveau système que nous avons adopté aujourd'hui à l'unanimité, et c'est une fierté, satisfaction et fierté pour nous les députés.
Oui, satisfaction, parce que nous l'avons toujours dit depuis quelques années, c'est ce régime qui sied le plus à un certain nombre de pays africains. Ce qui change, c'est quoi? C'est plus de redevabilité, plus de stabilité et plus de représentativité, et ce régime permet un dialogue permanent.
And that's all on the news. It's back to Mazino and Judith.
Thank you very much, Debola. Now, let's move on to matters for this hour. Let's take a critical look into the happenings inside of, well, of course, Kano State APC. Now, it involves the party chairman, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, APC executives in Ganduje ward of Dawakin Tofa local government area of Kano State had on April 16th purportedly suspended Ganduje over alleged corruption. The decision was, however, quashed by both the State Working Committee of the APC in Kano and the National Working Committee of the party. But then the Kano State High Court, sitting in Kano, northwestern Nigeria, granted an ex-parte order reinstating Abdullahi Ganduje from parading himself, or restricting him from parading himself as a member of the APC. However, in the ex-parte order delivered on Wednesday by the Federal High Court and made available to journalists on Thursday, A.M. Liman, a judge of the Federal High Court in Kano, said the purported suspension should not be implemented until the case is heard and determined.
With all that was going on with the APC party principal, some members of Nigeria's ruling All Progressives Congress have accused the former governor of Kano State and leader of the New Nigeria's People Party, Rabiu Kwankwaso, of being behind the ordeal of the APC national chairman. Now, some of them who were at the Kano State High Court to observe the arraignment of embattled national chairman of Nigeria's ruling party say the NNPP leader has lofty ambitions of defecting to the ruling APC in a bid to become its national chairman. Now, joining us to discuss the ever-revolving sliding doors of the APC national chairman are Bala Ibrahim, Director Publicity APC, and Ladipo Johnson, is the National Publicity Secretary, New Nigeria People's Party. Gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for joining us. And again, apologies for to have kept you waiting for this long.
Thank
But
you
let's
very
get
much,
started on the conversation today.
Now, first, let me ask both gentlemen here today. What are the positions of your parties individually on the status of Abdullahi Ganduje as the national chairman of the APC? Let's start with you, Mr. Johnson.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having us. As far as the NNPP is concerned, the matter is an internal matter of the APC. Hopefully they get their house in order as soon as possible. We have nothing to do with it. Yes, in your intro you spoke about some people saying that Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is responsible for the travels of Abdullahi Ganduje. That is not so. We have no way of influencing what would have happened or what happened within the APC regarding Ganduje. Kwankwaso is not behind it. The NNPP have nothing to do with it. And I dare say some people have also said that some elements in the presidency, that is part of the APC, are not too enamored with Ganduje continuing as the national chairman of the APC. So as I said earlier, as far as we're concerned, it has to do with the internal affairs of the APC, and I'm sure my brother Bala will shed more light on the events.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would have really loved to get Mr. Bala's opinion, but we're still having issues with your audio. So while we're getting that fixed, let's move on. Well, let's continue with you, Mr. Johnson.
Yes. On the allegations, sir, on the allegations that Rabiu Kwankwaso, that he's trying, the NNPP leader has lofty ambitions of defecting to the ruling APC in a bid to become its national chairman. Is there any smoke without fire in this situation? Are these allegations true?
Oh, we seem to be having issues with Mr. Johnson as well. Well, it's a very interesting situation here regarding the smoke without fire, like you put it.
Right.
Because it's very interesting because these people who have been talking about Kwankwaso's ambitions for the APC, the Nigerian context, anybody can move from one party to the other. It's quite easy.
Yeah.
So if you have any ambitions inside of another party, it's kind of like, well, hey, I'll wait my turn. Let me put a little bit here and then see how it goes. We have Mr. Ladipo back with us now. Mr. Ladipo Johnson, welcome back. We were asking you a question. Judith was asking you a very interesting question.
Yes, I heard the question. Okay, I'm so sorry. My connection is very unstable all of a sudden. I dare not mention who the carrier. But the thing there is that you say there's no smoke without fire. But I tell you, Nigerian politics, as you can see, there are so many imaginative script writers, I should call them. There is nothing of the such. We are concentrating, Rabiu Kwankwaso is concentrating on broadening the base of the NNPP. We have a lot of work to do. And you know that we have our own issues. They're not major issues like the APC or PDP have, or Labour for that matter. We have people who have been expelled, but are shouting from the rooftop that they are still there, they own the party. They've gone to about 5 courts, and all the courts have thrown them out so far. So they're still in court, but we are confident that we'll be allowed to continue to build the party, to get it ready for the Nigerian people before 2027.
Okay.
So at the moment, because you know these things are recorded and are down there, at the moment I can tell you that at the moment Rabiu Kwankwaso has no aspirations to move to the APC or neither to become their national chairman.
Okay,
we have no reason.
So, Mr. Johnson,
there is no love lost, political love lost between Ganduje and ourselves. But we have no reason to, he will do himself in. We have nothing to do with it.
Okay, so let's talk about the status of Mr. Ganduje himself, Ganduje himself. What is the interest of the NNPP in Ganduje's status in the party?
No, you see, the bottom line is this. We do not have an interest in anything that happens to Ganduje. The bottom line is we have the NNPP. We're very strong in Kano. Kano is our base. Now, the APC, when I say the APC, now I'm talking about Mr. President, has put in Kano, he has his national chairman. In Kano, he has the deputy Senate president. In Kano, I believe they have a minister or two ministers. So that shows you that Kano is, you understand, is in play. Well, not in play. We believe we have it tied up and locked up. But Kano is under siege, as it were, from the APC. I don't think the PDP are doing much there, but definitely from the APC. Because, of course, we all know that if you win Kano, a strong part of Kano, you are almost halfway to becoming president of the country or winning the national elections. So Kano is so important. And that is why, as I said, a lot of people don't realize the forces APC have lined up against us in Kano. But we've taken it. We're delivering services to the people. And we believe that that will be enough to increase our share of the votes in Kano and elsewhere. So as for Ganduje, we wish him luck. As I said, there's no love lost. We, politically speaking, not personally speaking, politically speaking, that we see him as someone who was treacherous to Rabiu Kwankwaso. We see him as someone who, in fact, I can make bold to say that with all the baggage, I don't know which party would have used him as a national chairman. So that is also a baggage on the APC. But we're not here to cast aspersions. I will not do that. He's a national figure. He's the national chairman of a party or suspended national chairman, whichever way you look at it.
Unfortunately, Mr. Bala Ibrahim, who is the director of publicity APC, we've lost him there. He would have given a bit of more response on that. Unfortunately, we've lost him because his audio, we couldn't fix his audio, so we've lost him. But we'll try to get him on to try to give a right of reply to the comments you just made. But let me ask you about the court orders, because you spoke a bit earlier in your response to Mazino, and let's talk about the court orders. Would you describe it, or would you use the adjective conflicting to describe the court orders that have been as back and forth, this and that, and now I understand that the APC is in court for a hearing to now, solidify the chairman or the national chairman as chairman of APC?
Well, it was, I remember yesterday I sat down with a legal practitioner, fellow colleague, and at the NNPP headquarters. And we laughed about the fact that after the High Court injunction, ex parte injunction, asking him not to parade himself, all of a sudden they went to a federal High Court, bringing a fundamental rights action. Fundamental rights action to say that his fundamental rights had been breached and what have you, and they said that he should continue in the interim as the chairman of the party. Well, in actual fact, in practical terms, the two orders from two different courts, all being courts of coordinate jurisdiction, the Federal High Court and the State High Court are at the same level. In practical terms, yes, they seem to be conflicting. But as you say, maybe they're doing other things. It will be sorted out. I'm sure that in the next week, it will be sorted out. But the bottom line is that politically speaking, whether the ex parte injunction by those from his ward, purportedly, whether it will survive the test of time or not, the fact remains that it has shown that the base of the APC at that Dawakin Tofa ward is not solid. They're not really happy about their national chairman. And others will begin to shine a torch and look at the value he's bringing to the table. If he wasn't able to deliver his state, etc., etc. These are things we consider in politics. Then you begin to look at whether he should remain on the seat as national chairman. As I say, I'm not a member of the APC.
Okay.
But
yeah. we get that. We get that.
You look at someone with that much baggage and you wonder.
So, Mr. Johnson, I actually wish that we had Mr. Bala here because I wanted to ask him certain questions regarding the identity of the people who, first of all, put together that initial, regarding Ganduje. The party, that's the APC, seems to be having problems identifying who these people are. Certain people are also saying perhaps they are not even party members of the APC, absolutely. Now, this reaching the NNPP's ears, how do you guys view this instance of non-identification of APC members? What are you guys saying, or how are you guys taking that information in your party?
Well, how do you take, if you play for Chelsea and you're meeting with Liverpool next week or in 2027, and you know that their coach is leaving and the players are suspending each other and the house, how would you feel? It's the opposition. You look at them, you laugh, and, well, you hope that things go well later, but do you really hope they're going to go well? The bottom line is that it has, as I said earlier, it has nothing to do with it, but it shows the fact they're not properly organized. Or at least that they are not...
in no way could any of these individuals have been infused into the party to make this instance happen. Now, you said it has nothing to do with you guys.
I doubt it. Look, would you have so much confidence if you're a member of PDP or NNPP or non-aligned at all, just to go hold a press conference and then take it the next step, go to court, to get swear an affidavit, to get an injunction against someone purporting to be your national chairman, if you were not a member of the party? They know that anyone that does that, the law will catch up with them and deal with them. So I doubt if that happened. But I cannot say for certain. I don't even know the name of the person who got the injunction or the names of the persons. I also
noticed that you keep referring to him as the suspended national chairman. I don't know why, but is there a reason why you keep referring to him as the suspended national chairman, even while the court has said that any suspensions
because what I heard, oh, you're being mischievous. What I heard first was the fact that there was an injunction.
Yes.
Suspending him.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Now, I didn't hear from that particular court that the injunction had been set aside. They could have gone back to that court, that very high court. You'd have gone back there, filed a motion, an affidavit of urgency, and a motion to strike it out. You strike it out, that the people who brought the suit are not members of the ward. They are not the executives of the ward. They had no locus and had no locus to suspend him. And I don't know the APC constitution. A lot of parties have stopped after the Adams Oshomole incident. They've amended their constitutions so that the ward level or what have you cannot suspend a national officer or cannot remove him. So, but I don't know the situation. So that's why I say that there was an ex parte order. That's what I heard. And then I expected that as with proper legal whatever, you would have gone to the same court to say, my lord, you reached this judgment per incuriam without proper facts being in front of you. Strike this matter out. These people are mischievous. They're this, they're that, they're that. That is what any lawyer would have expected. But then they did some forum shopping, ran to federal high court instead of the state high court that was seized of the matter. And then got fundamental rights. I don't know which fundamental right was breached, but I'm not the lawyer for the people or whatever.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim Johnson. We appreciate your presence. Unfortunately, or rather, Ladipo Johnson.
No, it's Ladipo Johnson.
Unfortunately, we lost Mr. Bala there. Yeah. But thank you very much for joining us.
He had his wires crossed there. But many thanks to you, sir, for coming on and just, doing a bit of justice to our questions. We're hoping for a more robust and rounded conversation with the Director of Publicity for APC. But we will give him, we're offering him a right of reply to come on. And we'll also be following this story to see how it unfolds in the coming days. But many thanks to you again, once again, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Now, coming up, we have a very interesting instance that's been brewing inside of Kenya. It's the Kenyan government versus the Medical Association. It's been happening for the past 5 weeks now. Well, all of that when we get back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, this time, it's Focus Africa. Today, we turn our focus to Kenya, where a Kenyan court ordered striking doctors and also the governments to reach an agreement to end a nationwide strike that is now in its 5th week.
Now, doctors at public hospitals downed their tools in mid-March over pay and working conditions, disrupting services for thousands of patients. At the center of the row is a move by the government to slash the salaries of medical interns who make up about 30% of doctors.
Now, Labour Court Judge Bairam Ongaya said the National Doctors Union and the government must immediately convene a meeting without conditions and conclude a written return to work formula not later than close of work yesterday, Friday.
And now we're being joined from Kenya by Dr. Dajin Binjin Atala. And he joins us live via video chat. A very, I want to say good morning, but do not know the time. So help me. What time is it over there? Although it's bright behind you.
It's 12 noon, so I think
it's noon.
Good afternoon.
It's noon.
Good afternoon to you
Good afternoon to you. Let's start, right? Walk us through the current situation with the doctor strike so far. It's now counting into its what, 4th week?
5th, I think.
5th week?
We are on day 38.
Right. So walk us through the situation. What's happening currently in Kenya regarding the strike?
As we speak today, we still have all the doctors currently on strike. They are from 27th of March to Thursday. We were not having any negotiation because government was insisting that we have to suspend the strike before we get into negotiation. But when the judge gave a directive that we can now negotiate and have a return to work formula within 48 hours, we now negotiated yesterday on Thursday and the whole of yesterday, and also the whole of yesterday night. We have progressed on some of the issues, but we're still having a deadlock on the issue of medical intern doctors, whose salaries were reduced by 90%. And this was violating the collective bargaining agreement. They had said because some of the doctors had gone to court and got an order that was suspending that particular reduction, the government was saying we should then let the court process be finalized before we discuss that matter. Now, that was one of the main reasons why we were on strike, and we know very well that legal processes may take up to a year or 2 years. So it is impossible for the doctors to go back to work saying that the reduction of pay of the intern doctors then be a subject of the court. And therefore, it will show a violation of the CBA And it means no doctor will be safe, and even the employment of other doctors will not be guaranteed or protected. So that's where we are on the negotiation, and I think we'll have more meetings this afternoon, because we had to have some in the morning where they were a bit, government was aggressive to have a clause on this. But I mean, we cannot just return to work with promises without knowing very well that the issues that took us out of work are not implemented. But I think now, since they gave the orders, we are at least talking. Before that, there was no any talks.
All right, so Dr. Davji, now you mentioned that some conditions have been met, and the major one is about the doctors' pay. If I'm correct, the doctors had their pay, I think, slashed, and they have been having this issue for the past 7 years where they've been receiving the same amount. And also there's the instance or the issue of the interns as well regarding how much they are going to be paid as well. Exactly how much, by how much were the doctors' money slashed by? And how much exactly are the interns supposed to be paid? What are the doctors advocating for at this point?
The doctor interns from our collective bargaining agreements of 2016-2017 should be earning 206,000 Kenya shillings, which is about $1,800. But then the government reduced it unilaterally without complying to collective bargaining agreement 7 years later, that is this year, by 90%, that they from about $1,800 to about $300. And therefore that was a big concern to us, because it meant that any other doctor's salary that we negotiated is not safe. We also have the basic salary that we negotiated from 2017 has not been implemented for 7 years. So that's what I could see from our engagement yesterday. Government was ready to implement, but then we are not confident that if they promise to implement that, and on this other side, they don't want to discuss the reduction of salaries, whether that is goodwill, because that may just be a trick to really turn doctors to work while there is a violation. And again, we know that we are advocating to have more doctors employed. We want to have hospitals that are operationalized, where we have drugs that when patients come in, they can actually get, whether there are reagents in the labs, so that there is an holistic approach to management of patients, something which has been lacking. Because you go to the hospital, but then you do not support, you're not supported. You get a patient that has an emergency, but you don't have emergency drug. So you end up losing a patient that otherwise you will have protected. Those are the reasons why doctors are out, so that we can make the public healthcare functional, in essence.
Right. Now, President William Ruto has said, he's made a couple of comments about the doctors. He first says that, quote, and unquote, quote, you are being unreasonable, unquote, where he told doctors and he asked them to return to work, and he also agreed to offer them what the government has made. He also was quoted saying, and I quote, the country must live according to our means, end quote. Is there no middle ground to the request of the president from the side of the doctors? Can a line be drawn and say, okay, look, let's come to the table and find a middle ground?
I think this is more of an issue of priority, because the wage bill currently in the country could not, 47% of it cannot be subjected to the doctors only. It's a matter of the political leaders that are there in the country. In fact, they contribute about 70%, the political leaders. So it is not right that you are considered as essential service providers, and then when there is a complaint or a concern on wage bill, or they say wage bill is ballooning, then the first act is sent to the doctors. I mean, that is what we are saying is not right. I mean, if we are essential service providers, then that also need proper budgeting for the doctors. We are not even discussing salary increments. We are talking about salary reduction. And yet, we, for a very small percentage of it, our salaries and entertainment allowance for political leader or for politicians. So for them to say that out of the wage ballooning that makes us to have salary reduction, we didn't find that to be right. Or that's the reason why they have not paid the best time that we agreed 7 years. We didn't find that is right. And that's why we are saying, if the wage bill is ballooning, we as healthcare workers, as doctors, we should be inside it. And if the balloon is bursting, we burst together.
Now, regarding the issue of reasonability, lives are being lost, aren't there? I mean, and these doctors are out there protesting while lives are, people are dying. Now, the question is, who exactly is being unreasonable? The government has said, this is what we have. And the doctors are insisting that we are not going to take that, we want more. Although you said that there have been some conclusions since yesterday. But regarding the lives that are being lost every single day, people traveling from long distances only to come to hospitals where they still lose their lives, reasonability, Big question. Who is unreasonable?
There's a real concern for us. That's why we don't go on strike for fun. The last time we went on strike was 7 years ago. And we were proceeding on strike because the commitments that we had had with government over the years are not being implemented. Instead, they're being violated, meaning we are not as essential as we may think. And also, before we proceeded on these strikes, we gave notice. Ideally, doctors take an oath, an Hippocratic oath, not to do any harm. But you don't do harm if you're at home, not in the hospitals, because we don't build the hospitals. The hospitals are built by governments. And also, as a doctor, despite of having an oath, having the stethoscope, having the paraphernalia for services to offer, you cannot go to a petrol station and use your stethoscope or your title of being a doctor to fuel your car. Or that you can't show your landlord that you are a doctor, you have an oath, then they pay your rent. And I mean, that's the reality. So we must come to a point that we see that doctors are also workers that need to be compensated and that need to be prioritized. Because then if that is not done, then they have no ability to actually go to that hospital to get care, to offer care. We have conditions where doctors in Kenya do not have medical insurance. And when they become patients, we have to now do collections and ensure that they get care. We had a case of a doctor who had a cancer. We had to contribute for 7 months. By the time we had enough money, she passed on. So we have to come to a point that realize that, yes, these are doctors, but they don't have any miraculous existence that do not need them to pay bills, or they're not robotic to offer the services. That is the notion that is being used to blackmail reality and make government abdicate its responsibility.
Right. I mean, it's going into its 5th week, right? It looks like there's no end in sight. Where do you see this matter going? Is there an end somewhere? Who will cave in, and at what cost at this point?
Yeah, we have had discussions now with government, and we've told them outrightly that we do not condone reduction on salaries and wages, and if they correct that, then I think even tomorrow doctors will be going to work. But if they don't, then there's no possibility of somebody going to work. And the other issue that we had also expressed very clearly is that after the 27th of March, we had a negotiation with government, and government walked out of the table. So it's government who stayed out for over 2 weeks without engaging the union completely, just giving threats, victimizations, and conditions. And in that period, it is the government that was continuing the strike. Because we keep saying government has been on strike for the last 7 years because they have not implemented the CBA. And therefore, doctors going on strike for these days was just to join the government, to remind them that they need to actually implement what was signed and what was agreed upon.
Well, Dr. Davji Bimji Atela, thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you explain the instance that's happening inside of Kenya.
Oh, yes, indeed. Many thanks to you. And we'll keep our eyes on the story as it continues to unfold. And we hope that the strike comes to an end.
Thank you.
Now, coming up, we have a very interesting conversation with our correspondent inside of Abuja. I'm hoping that we have him online. And also, Perspective will be coming your way, where we get to take a look at what the pulse is and everybody out there regarding the Naira abuse. We'll be back.
Yes, indeed. Stay with us.
You're welcome back. Now, let's talk about something very interesting that happened over the week inside of Abuja. And also joining us on this one is going to be our correspondent from Abuja, Amadin Uyi. Let's talk about the NEC, that's the PDP NEC meeting that took place over the week. Amadin, good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
Now, first off, Amadin, would like to know exactly what it was like at the NEC meeting. Give us an idea of what the atmosphere was.
Okay, first, for you to appreciate the atmosphere at the PDP NEC meeting, you have to understand the path the PDP has come along by in the last 1 year, 1.5 years. Now, there's been crisis in the party. We started well before the general elections, just before the convention. And I'll take you down memory lane. Now, the crisis in the party first started from who would be the candidate of the party in the 2023 general elections. Remember that in 2019, Atiku Abubakar was the party's running mate with Peter Obi, and that it was believed that in 2020, in the 2023 general elections, when it will be zoned, the ticket will be zoned to the south, that Peter Obi, as the running mate of Atiku Abubakar, would clinch the ticket. But what happened just before the convention was Atiku maintaining his stand that he still wanted to be on the ballot. This did not go down well with Peter Obi, who then resigned from the party and picked up the LP Labour Party presidential ticket. Now, that did not end there. Just at the convention, after the convention rather, the PDP were unable to reconcile. So the crisis escalated, and then we saw different factions break away from, they said that they were not leaving the party like Peter Obi, but they were going to remain in the party and they were going to support the APC presidential candidate. And that was the group, the faction known as the G5 governors, led by Nyesom Wike, who was then the governor of Rivers State. Now the G5 governors comprised of some governors, Abia, Oyo, Benue, Rivers, and I think Enugu. These 5 governors made it clear that they were not going to support the PDP presidential candidate because they felt that the PDP in the last 16 years, or rather in the last 20 years, had been the one who had introduced the convention for zoning of the presidency to north and south. And it was the turn of the south to present a presidential candidate. But Atiku Abubakar had used his influence to clinch the ticket at the detriment of the south. So they stayed in the party just like renegade governors and party members who refused to leave the party. They stayed in the party. Some of them threw their weight behind the APC presidential candidates, while 1 or 2 threw their weight behind Peter Obi, who was now the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. This went on. After the convention, the PDP were unable to reconcile these differences. And then the G5 governors brought up a new proposal that they will support Atiku Abubakar on the basis that the national chairman of the PDP, Yocha Ayu, resigns his position because it was untenable that Atiku would be the flag bearer from the north, and the national chairman would also is also coming from the north, specifically from the northwest region of the country. The PDP were unable to reconcile these differences. They went into the election a divided house, and the results showed that if the PDP had been able to reconcile their differences, they would have had a good showing, because Peter Obi got about 6 million votes, Atiku Abubakar got about 6 million votes, while the APC presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, who is now the president, got about 8 million votes. Now, they went into the election, they lost, and some felt that it was time for the party to reconcile. But the issues kept on evolving and metamorphosing and escalating. Now, when Bola Tinubu came in as president, he appointed Nyesom Wike, the then governor of Rivers State, who was seen as the leader of the G5 governors. He appointed him as a minister under his cabinet. Now, the PDP had not agreed to go into a government of national unity with the All Progressives Congress. So now you had a prominent member of the PDP serving on the cabinet of the APC. This further escalated the situation in the PDP. And then you got some members who now came up to say, let us bring sanity to the party. Let's call a NEC meeting. And for these members, people like Nyesom Wike, who it was seen were performing anti-party activities, they will be sanctioned. These were the issues before the NEC meeting. So you will also understand that the tension was also very, very high. Yes, I can hear you.
I mean, let's stay on course here with the NEC meeting, right? And this time, I know you're talking about each of his members, but let's just stay on course with NEC meeting. But I want to pick up on something that you just mentioned, which is about Nyesom Wike. What considerations were given to the murmurings of of him being the minister, the FCT ministers, and him being present in the party. His activities there, and did they call it anti-party? I need you to tell me their own reactions and what it was like for the PDP party members, as well as especially the executives.
Now, just like I was saying, and to answer this question, remember that a few days before the NEC meeting, some members had come out explicitly to say that the PDP needed to wield the big stick on members who had engaged in anti-party activities. And a lot of, there was a faction of the PDP prior to the NEC meeting who felt that the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, who was the former governor of Rivers State, should be sanctioned. So this issue with the main issue of the acting national chairman of the party, some felt that the acting national chairman of the party had not done enough to sanction these members. So these were the issues that were taken into the NEC meeting. So on that day, you would observe, you would notice that there was so much tension because everybody knew that the PDP needed to make firm resolutions, needed to make firm decisions to either realign the party as a formidable opposition party and then in preparation for the upcoming 2027 election. So the tension was very high. Nyesom Wike was at that meeting. Atiku Abubakar was at that meeting. Several members of the PDP and national executives were also at that meeting.
Okay.
And people expected that the decisions made at that meeting will go a long way in repositioning the party.
So, Amadin, regarding yesterday, a lot of people were expecting that the topic of the leadership of the party would be discussed, but it kind of like seemed like as if it was avoided. And there was also the constitution of a reconciliation committee put together. Now, can you tell us exactly why this is necessary, this reconciliation committee?
Now, in clear terms, 3 committees were set up. A reconciliation committee, a disciplinary committee, and a constitution review committee. The PDP wanted to review its constitution. The reconciliation committee was headed by the former president of the Senate, Saraki, and then the peace building committee was headed by the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Udom Emmanuel. And then for the Constitution Committee, the PDP National Legal Advisor. Now, I will not say that the position of the national chairman was totally avoided. What the members of NEC tried to do was that they know that the first thing to do is to de-escalate the tension, bring everybody together, because once the members, the founding members, those who have been in government from the party are not united, that the party can never come together. That was why these committees were set up. But the NEC went further to say, for the position of the PDP national chairman, that they would not discuss it at that meeting, but will reconvene another NEC meeting on August the 15th, hoping that between now until that time, that they will not, the new NEC will not come out with modalities for a convention where new national executives will be will be voted for. So what the PDP tried to do is, they are trying to see that between now till that time, you see a lot of activities ongoing in the party. You will now see a lot of members coming up to say the party has made it clear that that is not going to retain Damagun, who is the current acting national chairman, as the substantive national chairman.
Thank you very much.
Substantive national chairman.
Thank you very much, Amadin.
That August 15th.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you too.
Thank you very much, Amadin.
Thank you very much, Amadin, for
just
just this information that you shared with us. I mean, the elections, gubernatorial elections are coming in, and we'll hope to see what will happen for them for September 21st.
Yeah.
We have gubernatorial elections in Ondo as well as Edo as well. And we see how PDP will pick up from, they were once a ruling party, and now center holds?
Yeah, well, let's just see. Let's just see. That's as much as we can take inside of the show today. It's been quite a show. We've talked about very many issues, from political to the incidents happening here inside of Lagos with the Idumota demolitions. And we want to say thank you very much for being a part of the show today. because, hey, that's why we come here every single weekend. We're not done for the weekend, are we?
Oh, no, we're not. We're back tomorrow. Can you see? We'll be back tomorrow on Sunday, bright and early, 8 a.m. to start off the morning with you and give you a bit of extra just to get on for the new week. My name is Judith Atibi.
My name is Mazino Appeal. See you guys tomorrow.
Bye for now.